This week, Ukrainian troops have stepped up their operations dramatically. New battlefield footage shows Ukraine using long-range weapons, including Western-supplied cruise missiles, to strike Russian positions in the east of the country. This morning, the Ukrainian army successfully hit 3 Russian command centers using British and French-made cruise missiles and guided multi-barrel rocket launcher systems. The cruise missiles are co-produced in the UK under the name Storm Shadow, and in France under the name Scalp. Kiev said the command posts belong to Russia's 35th and 27th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigades and the 2nd Combined Arms Army. Britain's Sky News shared footage of the attack and attributed it to an unnamed Ukrainian security source. The source told the broadcaster that the clip showed attacks on 2 Russian command centers for large formations of troops slowly advancing towards Pokrovsk. Russia has long been advancing westward in Ukraine's Donetsk region, one of the Kremlin's priority areas along hundreds of kilometers of front line. In February this year, Moscow captured the former Ukrainian stronghold of Avdiivka, located on the outskirts of the Russian-controlled regional capital, Donetsk, after a fierce months-long offensive. According to expert analysts, the Ukrainian offensive took place in Avdiivka. An open-source intelligence account posting on social media said the attack was geolocated to railroad and concrete production facilities in Avdiivka. The Institute for the Study of War, ISW, a U.S.-based think tank that monitors daily changes in front lines, said Russia advanced about 2 square kilometers west of Avdiivka every day between February and August 2024, towards the Ukrainian-held Donetsk logistics hub of Pokrovsk. ISW said that before Moscow seized Avdiivka, it advanced about 0.2 square kilometers per day in the area. Angelica Evans, Russia researcher at ISW, said Russia's advance is likely to slow as Moscow approaches Pokrovsk and once again faces more residential and built-up areas. Pokrovsk is a fortress settlement that is key to Ukraine's defense in the east. Pokrovsk is also linked to other critical defense cities such as Sloviansk, Kramatorsk, Druzhkivka, and Kostiantynivka. In its latest published analysis, ISW noted that Russia has recently advanced southeast of Pokrovsk, including along a country road close to the settlement of Novohrodivka. The Ukrainian military said it had repelled 21 Russian attacks near Pokrovsk, including around Mirnohrad in the east. Kiev's armed forces said the most intense attacks took place southeast of the key city, near the settlements of Selidov and Krutyi Yar. Russian authorities, for their part, reported capturing the settlement of Hrodivka, northeast of Krutyi Yar and east of Pokrovsk. Meanwhile, there was a major explosion at the Feodosia oil depot in temporarily occupied Crimea. Missile Forces units of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and other units of the Ukrainian Defense Forces attacked the oil depot. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine made the following statement immediately after the operation. JSC Marine Oil Terminal is an important facility of the invaders that supplies fuel especially to the Russian military. The Marine Oil Terminal in Feodosia was hit as part of measures to undermine Russia's military and economic potential. This terminal is the largest in Crimea in terms of transshipment of petroleum products, which are used, among other things, to meet the needs of the Russian occupation army. Initially, it was assumed that the oil depot was attacked by UAVs during the night attack on Russian military facilities, but in the report of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the use of the missile forces was clarified as follows. A successful attack was carried out on a Russian naval oil terminal in Feodosia under the temporary occupation of Crimea. A fire was detected near the facility. After the damage, the situation is being clarified. The distance between the nearest point of the battle line and the affected facility is approximately 250-260 kilometers. The Ukrainian military did not specify which missiles were used in the attack. If we recall the previous attacks on Crimea, these could have been transferred US ATACMS tactical ballistic missiles or Ukrainian-made cruise missiles based on Neptune anti-ship missiles. At the end of August, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that Ukraine had successfully tested the first Ukrainian-made ballistic missile. He congratulated the national defense industry for this. He noted that the tests were successful. In early August, it became known that the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine allocated additional funds for Ukraine's missile program. 2 weeks ago, the president said that Ukraine was getting closer to using Ukrainian-made ballistic missiles. Therefore, it is not yet known what kind of system hit the oil terminal. On the other hand, pyrotechnic units of the State Emergency Service of Ukraine, SES, have neutralized and destroyed more than 530,200 explosive ammunition since February 24, 2022. The SES issued the following statement. Since the beginning of the full-scale occupation of the territory of Ukraine, a total of 533,228 explosive munitions, including 4,018 aerial bombs, have been detected, removed, and destroyed. Approximately 148,058 hectares, 575 square miles of territory have been surveyed. In the past 24 hours, SES pyrotechnic units were activated 173 times, removing and destroying 293 explosive ordnance. Among them were 2 aerial bombs. An area of 127,730 hectares, 490 square miles, was searched. Rescuers were urged to call 101 immediately if they saw any suspicious objects or explosives. In addition, the United Kingdom has allocated $3.5 billion, about $4.5 billion, to Ukraine for the purchase of modern military equipment from British manufacturers. The UK report says that a UK trade delegation comprising representatives of the Ministry of Defense, the Department of Trade and Enterprise, and the Defense Trade Association, ADS, visited Ukraine for talks with the Ukrainian government and industry representatives. This is the latest step in the growing relationship between the UK defense industry sector and Ukraine, following the signing of a major deal in July that will allow Ukraine to purchase more military capacity using export financing worth $3.5 billion, British Armed Forces Minister Luke Pollard commented. Britain's support for Ukraine is unequivocal. We continue to lead the way in providing military assistance, but our support is much broader than just providing equipment. Our evolving defense industry relationship is symbolic of the work being done across government and the private sector to increase and accelerate our support. The UK Ministry of Defence has signed contracts with Thales for air defence missiles and Sheffield Forge Masters for artillery barrel forgings to prepare the industry for further orders. Future orders are on the way and will be funded by Ukraine, drawing on its own reserves and the GBP 3.5 billion in UK export financing that the UK is providing to support Ukraine's war effort. On top of all this, military analysts consider the fall of Vuhledar, a coal mining town in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk region, a painful setback for Ukrainian forces, but unlikely to turn the tide of the war. Ukraine's Eastern Military Command reported that it had ordered its troops to withdraw from Vuhledar to avoid being surrounded by Russian troops and to protect personnel and military equipment. The town had been besieged by Russian forces since Moscow launched its full-scale occupation in February 2022. The commander of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, General Alexander Syrsky, said he had given the order to strengthen the defenses in the Donetsk region. Ukrainian and Russian experts said that the fall of Vuhledar will complicate the position of the Ukrainian armed forces in their fight against the Russian occupation, but will not lead to the collapse of Ukraine's defense lines in eastern Ukraine anytime soon. Vuhledar, which had a population of around 15,000 before the Russian invasion in February 2022, sits on a hilltop giving Ukrainian forces a strategic advantage, allowing them to bombard Russian forces and supply lines. Dmitry Kuznets, a military analyst at Meduza, an independent Russian news website, explained. The city is located high up and consists of multi-story buildings. The surrounding area can be seen for kilometers. In addition, observation posts of the armed forces of Ukraine and UAV operators were located in the high-rise buildings of neighboring mines, and the basements of high-rise buildings and mines served as a reliable shelter for the infantry. Russian forces have suffered heavy manpower and equipment losses in the numerous offensives launched against Vuhledar since February 2022. But both Russian and Ukrainian experts say that the strategic loss of Vuhledar, while painful, has not fundamentally changed the military situation in eastern Ukraine. The Washington-based Institute for the Study of War ISER wrote the following. Some Russian sources expressed skepticism that Russian forces would be able to advance rapidly and achieve significant operational breakthroughs immediately after capturing Vuhledar. Some Russian military bloggers have stated that they do not expect the front line to collapse after the capture of Vuhledar, and that Ukrainian defense positions northeast of Vuhledar and Russian forces need to completely clear Vuhledar to make it a usable position from which they can launch future offensives. Military expert Oleksiy Melnik of the Razumkov Center, a Kiev-based think tank, said that Vuhledar serves as an outpost for Ukrainian forces in terms of destroying the offensive potential of Russian troops, and its loss would make it significantly harder for Ukraine to seize the next lines. However, the fall of Vuhledar should not be seen as the collapse of the front or a turning point in the war, the official said, adding that by withdrawing forces from Vuhledar, the Ukrainian army managed to buy time to consolidate its positions in eastern Ukraine. Melnik also expressed doubts that Russia will be able to capitalize on its military successes in the region. At least in the fall and winter, the pace of advance of Russian troops will slow down. This concerns both the use of heavy equipment and the operation of unmanned aerial vehicles. The use of Russian tactical aviation will also become more complex, which will facilitate the fulfillment of Ukrainian defense tasks. Nevertheless, Meduza's Kuznets said that Russian forces could benefit from the capture of the city in future operations, including a possible offensive targeting Velika Novosilka, an important Ukrainian town located on the border between the Donetsk and Zaporizhia regions of the country. Kuznets continued, Russian troops are already advancing from the south and may soon increase pressure from the east. Thank you for tuning in.